I know with the higher self, and I've heard this from so many different sources and points of knowledge, whether it's ancient wisdom or people that research near death experiences, where this idea of a higher self is really like going into the perspective of the person playing the game, not the character in the game. And I'm
Mm.
using the game analogy again because it's a really helpful one for me personally, because your higher self, from what I've gathered with this, and audience, let me know what you think the definition of a higher self is, because I think it's a little different depending on everyone's experience. But essentially, it's this aspect of ourself that transcends time and transcends this physical reality. So in a way, the higher self is the one that has a better perspective on the cheat codes, for one, and also the entirety of the game, what the game looks like from a bird's eye view, versus the view of on the ground, in it, surrounded by it, consumed by it. And that higher self, that part of ourself that once we tune in through meditation, tune in through silence and contemplation, tune in through self-love and all the other infinite ways we can do this, it will continue to offer ourselves perspective when we're not sure of where to go or what to do. Our higher self is very much plugged into the higher purpose and the path, the larger viewpoint of our journey in this life. And so, we don't need to have the answers necessarily in that moment. And sometimes it's just a feeling, you're just going on intuition or a feeling, but that's always your higher self is always wanting to help you out in every way possible. And that's usually the best way to connect with it, is through what we've been talking about in this whole episode, is the silence, is the contemplation and the self-love and things of that nature.
Chris, have you ever done this? Have you ever, during meditation, have you been able to lift yourself out of your body and actually be able to see yourself from different perspectives? That's actually such a cool exercise. It takes a little practice, viewer, to just, get used to that. But even if you just start with um, having an image of yourself, looking at yourself in the mirror, that's a great way of and to change perspective. Um, but I've been doing that for a long time, and that is so cool to be able to, because it shifts your perspective on just everyday thinking. Being able to sit, close your eyes. I mean, I have to close my eyes when I do it, but then a lot of times I look at myself from above and I look down and I can see the top of my head. It's like, oh, okay. What's going on with you today? How are you in this perspective? Before we leave, I would love for you to talk about the power of 432 hertz, because you have such a gifted talent in music, and I love what you create. And I know that you don't do anything that is outside of that minimum bass, right? It's that 432 hertz that is the underlying rhythm that is also associated with our bodies. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's so cool.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. It's a really interesting rabbit hole. And again, those watching and listening, check it out after I give you some, maybe some links and things that you can continue this research on. It's a really special number, first and foremost. 432 hertz. Outside of it being a frequency, the number itself, 4 + 3 + 2 = 9, and nine's a really special number. It's the only number that you can multiply by itself, divide by itself, and it always reduces back to nine. I was never much of a math guy, but then when I started to get into what we could call sacred mathematics, all of a sudden math takes on a whole other form, and the language, and it's beautiful. And just using 9 as this example, like, 9 plus 9 is 18, 1 plus 8 is 9. And you just keep doing that with every possible version of 9 times whatever, 9 plus whatever. Every time it reduces back to 9. And that's why Nikola Tesla says, if you understand the significance of 3, 6, and 9, you understand the keys to the universe. And he would do everything with 3, 6, and 9 in mind. And, I know, Lisa, you have a beautiful affirmation process. That's the Nikola Tesla one that after I say this, I'd love for you to share that with the audience, because that's another awesome takeaway for everybody. So 432 hertz is a really powerful frequency. So I first got interested in it because I heard things like the ancient Egyptians, for example, used this frequency, in the Great Pyramid of Giza, in the last ancient wonder of the world. It resonates at 432 hertz. And 432 hertz is a number that you can multiply, and it eventually forms the diameter of the moon, the ratio diameter of the planet Earth, and also the same distance from Earth to the sun. 432 is a ratio number within all of these different measurements. So it's a number that comes up a lot when we get into sacred mathematics. So that's one thing to consider. And then when it comes to music and vibration, when instruments are tuned to the frequency of 432 hertz, there's something that happens with the cells in our body and the DNA and every part of ourselves that make up ourselves, which is all in vibration. It seems to have a very positive effect. It seems to have a very loving effect. It's a very loving frequency, and it seems to have a very positive vibrational effect on everything in our body. You can see photos of 432 hertz, vibrating in water. And my album, that's my only album out right now on Spotify, is 432. And the album artwork is what 432 hertz looks like resonating in water. I actually got the image from a laboratory in California, and they have a CymaScope. And it's a beautiful device that photographs sound resonating in different substances, but specifically water, because you can see sound is it's a three-dimensional phenomenon. We're always taught in science that sound waves are these like flat lines. That's not true. It's a 360 sphere that emanates every time a sound is made. And you can capture that in the CymaScope pretty beautifully. So that album artwork is what 432 hertz looks like. And if you'll notice in that, there's actually in the inner part of that pattern looks like a heart, the classic heart emoji. And I wonder where we got that from, right? So 432 hertz, when I tune all my instruments to that frequency, it seems to have really profound healing effects, relaxation effects, loving effects. And if anyone's interested, you can just check out my YouTube channel, Chris Noble Music, and get a lot of that, or do your own deep dive. Just type in 432 music into YouTube, for example, and just, experience that yourself. It's, and incorporate it into your meditations, have some fun with that. And, if you listen to my music on Spotify, you'll notice it's very different than my meditation stuff. It's actually dance music. And one of the things I like to do as well, especially in the morning or at some point in the day, is to have a little dance party in my kitchen or something. Dancing really moves a lot of energy in your body. It's fun. It's always very playful. It's a great way to add some joyful energy instantly into your life. And the dance music I make is also tuned to 432 hertz. So try listening to that and have like part of a little dance part of your morning routine, perhaps. So those are all fun things you can use with 432 hertz into your everyday life. And